So the stimulus talks as of lately have been getting crazy. Some are saying that we need more stimulus, and others are saying no, we need less. And this $1.9 trillion stimulus package is just too much. But which one of these groups is actually right? Well, at this point, President Biden has not decided on either one. He is still looking for ideas, looking for ways to make this $1.9 trillion stimulus package better. He even goes on to state that if this means it gets smaller, then he is open to suggestions at this time. President Biden even stated on Friday, and I quote, "I'm grateful that the Senate and House are moving quickly, and I'm prepared to hear their ideas on how to make the package better and make it cheaper. I'm open to that." And that creates a whole nother story because right now, Republicans are trying to make this package cheaper. Democrats would like to make it a little bit even more expensive, but provide more stimulus and provide more relief to every single American. President Biden even went on to say, "Critics say my plan is too big, that it costs $1.9 trillion. That's too much. Let me ask them, what would they have me cut? What would they have me leave out? Should we not invest $20 billion to vaccinate the nation?" So this is a great question. What should we cut out of this $1.9 trillion stimulus package? Or should we be adding to it? This is the question. This is the trillion-dollar question that so many people are asking is, are we focused on the right pieces of legislation or are we missing things? And I can tell you right now, based on everything that I've read lately, we are missing one group of people. This $1,400 stimulus checks, this does go out and help, filers, adult dependents and child dependents. One of the things that is not really being talked about is people on Social Security and fixed incomes. Those are the ones that are being left out. So as of right now, yes, we should be increasing this package in order to include those that are being left out. Because just one study that was done this past week is stating that the food costs have risen 3.9% from year over year. From January 2019 to January 2020, the food costs have risen 3.9%. However, the cost of living adjustment, the COLA for people on Social Security, that only rose 1.3%. So we're still missing about 2.6% right there. And that's a big deal. So let's get back to what is actually in this package and why there are so many people that do support it and so many people that are kind of against it. Roughly 73% of Americans at this point support this stimulus package. However, there are still 27% that are not for it, but it doesn't actually indicate why. Is it because they want more, or is it because they do not feel that we need to provide additional stimulus to the American people? But here's what's actually in this bill. There's $1,400 stimulus checks to every single American. $400 per week in unemployment benefits for an additional 24 weeks. This is for all unemployment programs. There's $3,600 child tax credits as well as a $3,000 child tax credit depending on your child's age. We have increased earned income credits. We've got rental assistance, nutrition assistance, small business assistance, vaccine funding, school aid, $15 federal minimum wage increase, and $350 billion for state and local governments. And even with all this, Republicans still want to vote no. And many people ask why. Well, I want to address that question. Then at the end of this video, I will address when we should be expecting the $1,400 stimulus checks to arrive to our bank account. So I first want to read a letter from Nancy Pelosi that she wrote to House Democrats the other day. So here's what the letter says. With millions of Americans unemployed and demanding relief to reopen schools and get people back to work, House Republican leadership is demanding its members vote against a bipartisan plan to help struggling Americans. Minority Whip Steve Scalise emailed his caucus today to whip a no vote against the American Rescue Plan and specifically attacked the plan's provision of nutritional assistance to the millions of Americans facing hunger during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a reminder, the American Rescue Plan is supported by 73% of Americans, including a majority of Republicans, and backed by economists on both sides of the aisle. Delivers $1,400 stimulus checks to millions of Americans, and Moody's found will It will create 10 million American jobs, provides 160 billion to reopen schools and keep them open. A February survey from the Federal Reserve found that 9 million small business owners fear their businesses won't survive the pandemic without more government relief. And former President Trump's economic advisor stated that the Biden's relief plan is needed to stop a negative spiral for the economy. Americans need help. House Republicans don't care. Now, Nancy Pelosi's letter to her caucus was right. It was correct in the sense that, yes, this is all what Republicans are saying. However, she doesn't actually go into detail as to why. So that's what I want to do right now, is I want to explain both sides of the current situation, because I expect the House is going to have some debates this week as to whether or not this $1.9 trillion stimulus package is good enough. I expect they're going to add a little bit to it. I don't expect they're going to take away from it. And then I anticipate once it gets kicked over to the Senate is going to also implement a few other changes and amendments. And then it will actually get kicked back to the House for another vote before going to President Biden's desk. So we still have a little bit of work to do, but I want to explain both sides, because right now Nancy Pelosi's letter only talks about what is beneficial for Democrats, but it doesn't talk about the other side. So that's what I want to do. Because Republicans like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, they do want to see additional stimulus. They have said before they do support additional stimulus, but it must be targeted. They want to see that the money is spent on more targeted legislation and is going to things that were actually negatively impacted due to this pandemic. So, for example, Mitch McConnell. The Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, by the way, Mitch McConnell doesn't feel that spending $350 billion on state and local governments is a good thing to do at this point, because many states have already recouped their losses. He states, and he wonders why $350 billion is the new number when just a couple of months ago, $160 billion would suffice for state and local governments. And we all know, based off of the studies and the reports that have come out lately, that right now, some states are better off than they were beginning of 2019. So why are we providing $350 billion to state and local governments and tribal territories when we don't necessarily need to? That's what Mitch McConnell is actually asking. And then you have other Republicans say $1,400 stimulus checks should not be going to dependents. $1,400 stimulus checks should be going to the filers and their spouse. We should have something like a $600, maybe an $800 check going to child dependents and adult dependents. Why are we sending $1,400 stimulus checks to them when they are a dependent? Now, I get it. However, President Biden did say we would see $2,000 stimulus checks if we voted for Democrats in Georgia. Well, people voted for Democrats in Georgia, so we should be seeing $2,000 stimulus checks. So this is more of a campaign promise, not really that this is the best thing to do at this time. And that's coming from both Democrats and Republicans, that yes, should we be sending this much money out to the American people when the money could potentially just sit there? No, it's not the best use of money, or it's not the best bang for our buck. But that is what Democrats promised. And if they want to continue to hold the majority in the House and the Senate during this midterm election in 2 years, then they have to start working on that now. So that's exactly what President Biden is said to do. Also, if we were to adjust the figures for dependents, some are saying that this could save us roughly $100 billion. So it would take this stimulus package from $1.9 trillion down to $1.8. That's a fairly good savings. Now, we also have Republicans that are questioning whether sending the unemployed another $400 per week is the best use of money. Some say this will encourage them to not go and get a job, just stay at home. And honestly, it could. And we know that, we've known that for a while. However, what we do know is some people are tired of staying at home, just want to go to work. So if their job calls them back, they will obviously go back to work. And then Republicans say if you couple this $400 per week along with President Biden's executive order that allows workers to not go to work if they feel they are not safe and they could potentially contract COVID, then this is, according to Republicans, is just begging people to stay at home and collect unemployment. And the biggest problem right now is that nobody seems to have a clear idea of what to do. President Biden is looking for guidance, but the guidance at this time is taking too long and causing more Americans pain. Some are saying that right now it makes more sense to just pass whatever we can. Just get it done. And if we have to go and ask for money back later on, fine, we will ask for money later on. The issue with that is if you go and give somebody a stimulus check, they spend it, and then you go and ask for it back, which some people are saying the IRS is doing, which they are not doing. They are not asking for the money back. If they were to do that, it would create a whole host of additional problems. If you send the money to people, most likely they would not spend it. So the government would go and take on all this debt, send money or $1,400 stimulus check to the American people. They wouldn't spend it because they would worry that they're going to have to pay it back. So what do? They either save it or invest it. And once they save it or invest it, then there's actually no return for the government to do this. So we're not seeing that the velocity of money actually increase, which is essentially what we need to happen. So some experts, or a few experts, are actually saying that President Biden isn't even sure what to pass at this time. And if he isn't, then just pass standalone bills to only get what is necessary. And then we have others that saying passing the largest possible stimulus package that we can would be the best move. But to slowly leak out funds would be a better option. This would actually allow the government to figure out, okay, we allocated, let's say, $350 billion to state and local governments. Great, but we're not going to send it all out. We're going to send out, let's say, $150 billion. We're going to hold on to $200 billion. And if more states need additional funding, then we will send out that money when the time comes. Some are saying this would be a better option. But right now, President Biden is just looking for guidance. What I can tell you is that more stimulus and relief is coming. But with President Biden open to a smaller package and actually saying, I am open to making it cheaper, this is only going to give Republicans another way in to provide additional kind of ideas. So we will see what happens, but what we should expect as to when we could potentially see these stimulus checks, let me just break this down because I know a lot of people are really questioning, are we going to see these in February? I'll tell you right now, no. The answer is absolutely not. Today's the 21st. We will not see stimulus checks in February. That is in 7 days. It's not going to happen. What we can expect the House is going to vote or take up this vote later on this week. We will probably see this most likely Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of this week. After that, the Senate will then get this package over to the Senate, and they will probably take on this bill as well. However, they're going to have to go through a debate. They will probably go through their markup phase. There will most likely be amendments and some adjustments within this bill. And if this happens, and let's say the Senate passes this with their markups, with all their amendments, they pass this not this coming week, but the week after. That's the first week in March. Then what we're seeing is this will be kicked back to the House probably on March 8th, and then it will be passed sometime that week, which means President Biden is only going to have days. He's only going to have days left to sign the bill before the unemployment insurance benefits actually expire. So what we know is everybody is on track, and they're pretty much starting with March 14th as the deadline. So if March 14th is the deadline, they're saying that President Biden needs this on his desk by, let's say, March 12th. And so if this is on his desk on March 12th, which is a Friday, that means the House and the Senate have to be done with their work within the next few weeks. We'll see if that happens. Some expect it should happen, and it's very possible that it doesn't. But again, we don't know. It all depends on what happens this week. We need to see the House pass this bill this week. Then we also need to see the Senate or the Senate parliamentarian either rule in favor or rule against the $15 federal minimum wage. If she does this, we're going to have much more clarification. We're going to have a lot more answers as to where we are going. If the $15 federal minimum wage is included, that's actually going to create more issues than if it is not. If the $15 federal minimum wage is not included and the Senate parliamentarian rules against this, then what we can see is this bill will pass much quicker because people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema will not be opposed to that piece of legislation. So that's what we know right now. But what I can tell you is the most likely outcome is we see stimulus checks possibly by March 18th or 19th. But if some people are saying that we will most likely get pushed back, the deadline will most likely be pushed back to possibly March 19th. If that's the new deadline, we could see stimulus checks by the end of March. So my guess is before April, we will have stimulus checks in hand if you get direct deposit. If you get a paper check or a prepaid debit card, then you might have to wait a little bit longer. But that is what we know right now. As always, consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. Make sure you go and watch some of the videos I did yesterday and also Friday as well, because I talk about the $1,400 stimulus check, who is going to get it. I address the $3,600 child tax credits, and I also address unemployment benefits. So if any of those three would apply to you, which stimulus checks will apply to you, I guarantee. If you have children, the $3,600 child tax credit will apply to you. And if you are worried about your job and you're potentially considering going on unemployment, watch the video on unemployment as well. So all three of those videos will be linked down in the description box below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Again, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.